Hello everyone, this is AI here, and in today's tutorial I'll teach you how to create this geometric pattern in Affinity Designer. This pattern is made of an hexagon that is placed within a circle, and they are duplicated and rotated to create this kind of grid. As I explained in my previous tutorials, in order to create a pattern for a pattern fill, we first need to identify the tile that repeats itself throughout the composition. In this particular pattern, identify the following tile that I highlighted with the red rectangle. The key to identifying a tile in a pattern is that it must start at the top, where it ends at the bottom, and it must start on the left, where it ends on the right. So this is what we're going to seek to create. And this is what the tile will look like after we have created and exported it. And we will create the tile as black stroke on a transparent background. And we will create the gradient background as we do the pattern fill. Alright, so to get started, we go to File New, and we create a new composition. We give it 2000 by 2000 pixels in dimensions. And we click on Create. And then make sure that snapping, snap to spread, snap to object bounding boxes, and include bounding box midpoints are enabled. And first we're going to start drawing the hexagon. So we take the polygon tool. We set the number of size to 6 to make it an hexagon. We set the fill to none. We leave the stroke as black. And we set the stroke width to 5 points. And then, starting from the middle of the composition, and while holding Ctrl and Shift to expand from the center and keep the 1:1 proportions, we go ahead and we create an hexagon of about 300 by 300 pixels in dimensions. And then to create the tile, we are going to need 2 rounds of 6 hexagons around it. So in order to do that, we press on Ctrl J to duplicate it, and we move it to the right while holding Shift to keep it on a straight line until it snaps to the first hexagon. And then we're going to duplicate and rotate it. So we go here to enable transform origin, and we set the rotation center in the middle of the first hexagon. We press on Enter to bring out the Move Duplicate panel. We check on Duplicate. We set the number of copies to 5 and the rotation angle to 60 degrees. And we click on OK. So this creates the first round of hexagon around the first hexagon. And then we're going to need a second round of 6 hexagons. So we press on Ctrl J to duplicate one of the hexagons. And we need to position it here so that it fits. And in case we have difficulties to make it snap, we press on Ctrl A to select everything. And then we select the hexagon again. And then we should be able to make it snap to the other hexagons. And then we set the rotation center in the middle of the composition. We press on Enter to bring out the Move Duplicate panel. Here, we check on Preview Settings to apply the same duplication settings as for the first round of 6 hexagons. And also we check on Duplicate. And we click on OK. So this gives us the second round of hexagons that we need for the tile. So now we have all the hexagons that we need. And the next step is going to be to create the circles. So we take the ellipse tool and we set the fill and the stroke settings as they are. And then starting from the middle of the composition, and while holding Ctrl and Shift, we go ahead and we create a circle that is slightly bigger than the first hexagon. And then we're going to duplicate the circle. So we're going to create 2 rounds of 6 circles, the same thing as for the hexagon. So we press on Ctrl J to duplicate the circle. And we move it to the right until it snaps to the center point of this hexagon here. And then we set its rotation center in the middle of the composition. We press on Enter to bring out the Move Duplicate panel. We'll leave previous settings on. And we check on Duplicate. And this gives us 6 circles, spaced by 60 degrees each, and we click on OK. So this is the first round of 6 circles. And then we press on Ctrl J to duplicate the circle again. And we position it in a way that it snaps to the center point of this hexagon here. And then we set its center point in the middle of the composition. We press on Enter to bring out the Move Duplicate panel. We'll leave previous settings on, and we check on Duplicate, and we click on OK. So this gives us the second round of circles, of 6 circles. So now we have all the elements that we need to delineate the tile. So the tile is going to be located from the left edge of this hexagon here to its right edge, and from the bottom of this circle here to the bottom of this circle here. And we are going to delineate it with the rectangle tool. So we take the rectangle tool and we set the fill and the stroke to none. And we go ahead and we draw a rectangle. And then we take the move tool, we select the rectangle, and then we're going to adjust it so that it snaps. So we need to make sure that it snaps to the left edge and the right edge of this hexagon, and to the bottom of this circle here, and to the bottom of this circle here. So now we have positioned the rectangle as we need it. The next step is going to be to export its content. But before we do that, we are going to set the background to transparency. So in order to do that, we press on Escape to unselect. We go to Document Setup. We go to the Color tab, and we check on Transparent Background, and we click on OK. And then we select the rectangle again, and we are going to export its content. So we go to File, Export. We set the File type to PNG in order to preserve the transparency in the background. And we set the area to Selection Area to export only what's within the rectangle. And we click on Export. Alright, so now we have exported the tile and we can use it to do a pattern fill. So we go to File, New, and we create a new composition. And then we take the rectangle tool. We set the fill and the stroke to none. And then we go ahead and we create a rectangle all over the composition. We select the rectangle in the Layers panel. And we press on Ctrl J to duplicate it. That way we can have the gradient background and the pattern on different layers. So this gives us more flexibility. And then we select the background rectangle. We take the gradient tool. We leave the context as fill. And we set the type to linear. And we draw a gradient from the top left to the bottom right. I will set the top color to light blue. And the bottom color to a greenish blue, like cyan. And also I'll give it a bit of noise. And then we can bring in the tile. So we select the upper rectangle. We take the vector float fill tool. We go to set bitmap fill. We select the tile. We click on the composition, and this creates a pattern fill. And then we can adjust the handles to make the pattern bigger or smaller. And one additional tip, we can select the pattern and add a drop shadow to it. So we go to Layer Effects. We select Outer Shadow. And we can increase the values. And this gives it a drop shadow. So this adds a bit of volume to the pattern. And then we can close the Layers Effects. Alright, so that was it for this tutorial. You learned how to create this geometric pattern in Affinity Designer. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye.